Welcome back to the Movie Man. Today I will show you a 2015 crime thriller drama film, DRISHYAM Part 1. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. A police officer named Gaitan had just transferred to a new police station in Panolam, a small North Goa, India town. There are two police stations in that area. The old one and the new one inaugurated the last week. A man who looked like he was detained named Vijay Saljankar was seen there. Flashback to the past time, Vijay was an ordinary person who owned a TV cable business. He once studied and dropped out in the fourth year. Together with Jose, he spent most of his time in the office, where he spent most of it watching movies. Vijay was known for his good nature and everyone who knew about him seemed to like him. One day Vijay had his lunch in a tavern across the police station owned by a man named Martin. There, he saw an elderly couple sitting there depressed. He then asked what happened and the elderly couple told him about their son, who was sentenced to jail by a corrupt police officer named Gaitan because they couldn't pay their installment to a credit company. Turned out, that Gaitan was the cousin of the credit company owner. Despite having no relation between their son's case and the police, Gaitan threatened to kill their son if they dared to report the case to the chief. Vijay then remembered one of the films where a man reported unlawful imprisonment, also known as habeas corpus. Vijay then decided to help them by introducing them to a lawyer that he knows, but shortly after, Gaitan was seen walking towards the tavern. Vijay immediately asked the elderly couple to leave before Gaitan saw them. Despite all the time he spent in his office, Vijay was a loving family guy. He loved his family so much. Together with his wife, Nandini, he had two daughters named Anju and Anu. Nandini protested to Vijay because he spent too much time in his office, watching movies instead of spending it with his family. She asked Vijay to take her and her daughters on vacation and shopping in a nearby city, Panaji. During the trip, Anju told her parents that she was elected to represent her school at a high school camp in Goa. Vijay allowed her to attend it and Anju finally went to the camp. There, she was the center of attention for her beauty. One man who had a liking to her named Sam was often seen recording her. At the house, Vijay's brother-in-law Rajesh visited to tell his brother that he, along with his organization, had just closed a mine since it was not eco-friendly. One day, when having his lunch in Martin's tavern, Vijay was acquainted with Rain, the contractor who worked for the new police station's construction. Not long after that, Gaitan came to the tavern. He suspected Vijay of helping the elderly couple and was not fond of his actions. Gaitan was a regular customer at Martin's tavern but he never paid for anything he had eaten there. He instead told Martin to be grateful because thanks to the construction of the new police station, Martin's sales were affected. The workers there usually ate in his tavern and it was thanks to Gaitan. Vijay, who didn't like the way Gaitan treated Martin, then sarcastically implicitly mentioned Gaitan's bad habit in front of the chief named Sawant. One day when Vijay was digging a hole for compost, Nandini told him about a religious figure named Swami who had planned a lecture in Panaji on 2-3 October. She asked Vijay to go there with the family. Suddenly, Anju came and told them about her camp and Sam, the man who often recorded the women during the camp. One day, Gaitan met Rain in front of Martin's tavern. Turned out, that Rain had reported Gaitan's bad habit to the senior inspector there named Prabhu and Gaitan didn't like that. Vijay then helped Rain because he knew that Rain had done the right thing. The next day, Nandini asked Anju to go to the market for shopping. When she was on her way from the market, she was intercepted by Sam. He then showed her the footage of her changing clothes and blackmailed her. He asked her to meet him alone in her backyard at midnight and threatened to spread the video if she refused to do it. When she arrived home, she was afraid and didn't know what to do. Later that night, a rainstorm happened and Vijay decided to stay at his office. Meanwhile, at the house, Sam came to visit Anju. Turned out, Nandini was also there waiting for him. Because Anju brought her mom to meet Sam, he then threatened to spread the video. Nandini begged him to delete the video. Both Nandini and Anju tried to retrieve the phone from Sam but didn't manage to do so. Sam then promised to delete the video but asked Nandini to sleep with him. The next morning, Vijay came home and was shocked to see his family, who was shaken from something. It turned out that an incident happened last night. Anju was about to hit Sam's cell phone with an iron rod, but instead, the rod hit Sam's head and killed him instantly. She then destroyed the phone with the rod. She tried to call Vijay, but his office telephone was turned off. Amid the panic, both of them decided to bury Sam's dead body in their yard. Unfortunately, when they were doing that, Anu was there witnessing the incident. Nandini asked if what she did was wrong, and Vijay said that it was not, because if she went to the police and reported what she had done, then Anju's life would be ruined. Vijay told her to stay calm and promised to protect his family at any cost. He then told them to clean up the evidence. Vijay took Sam's phone SIM card because he remembered that the police might be able to track the phone if the SIM card was inserted into an active phone. He then asked everyone not to go anywhere and close the house until he came home. He said that he would take away Sam's car, but unfortunately, when he tried to enter Sam's car, the alarm was triggered and Biden, who coincidentally was at Vijay's neighbor's house, heard the noise. Before he checked the noise, Vijay had managed to turn it off, but unlucky for him, Gaitan had briefly seen him entering the car. On his way, Vijay saw Swami's lecture banner and suddenly remembered when his wife told him about it. He then arrived at a phone store and bought a phone. He then gave the shop clerk the SIM card without touching it and asked him to put it inside the phone. When he left from there, the phone notified a message and a call. After that, he arrived at a truck station. He took the phone, cleaned his fingerprints from it, and dumped it on one of the trucks there. He then remembered about the closed mine from his brother Rajesh and decided to dump Sam's car there. When Vijay arrived at his office, Jose told him that he was gone for 2 days to attend Swami's lecture in the city. He was surprised to see Vijay being too kind, not like the usual him who often scolded him. When Vijay got home later, he told his family to get rid of their worries and fear on their faces and gestures, because even an ordinary person like Jose was able to recognize the suspicion, which meant it would be even easier for the police who were experienced to recognize it. He then told his family to pack their belongings because he would take them to Panaji to calm things down for them. He told everyone to tell that they were going to Swami's lecture in Panaji if someone asked them, even though the event was already finished. Nandini then told Vijay that Sam was the son of the General Inspector of Goa named Meera, a strict, intelligent, but cruel police officer. She would do anything, even torturing and killing for the sake of justice. Mahesh, Meera's husband, was worried about Sam since he hadn't been home since last night, but Meera told him not to worry about him. Vijay and his family took the bus to Panaji. The bus driver was familiar with Vijay. He didn't allow Vijay to pay for the trip. Vijay then went to Swami's last lecture venue, then stayed at a hotel nearby. He and his family ate at a nearby restaurant, went to the cinema, and came back home. At home, Nandini and Anju, who still looked worried, were looking at Sam's grave in their yard. Vijay, who saw them, immediately told them to get rid of the fear and stay calm. He also asked them to keep every receipt that they had. One morning, the police suddenly came to see Vijay. Anju, who saw the police arrival, almost lost it if it was not because Vijay covered her crying face. Somewhere else, Meera started getting worried and suspected something wrong had happened to her son, Sam. She asked the cyber division to trace Sam's phone. From the results, Sam went very far from Goa to Kanchipuram, and after a while, his cell phone died. The police also received a finding in the abandoned mine. A couple of people swimming there found Sam's yellow car sink in the mine, and the police estimated that the car had been sunk for almost 2 weeks. Meera didn't want the media to sniff the case and decided to investigate more of her son's disappearance case. According to the police cyber division investigation, Sam's phone last call notification was on October 2nd at 7 p.m. at Pondolam. After that, the signal was lost around 10:30 p.m. The phone was turned back on at 9:25 in the morning in Panaji until finally, The phone died in Kanchipuram. The police said that the cell phone that went off on the night of October 2nd and the one that came back on the 3rd of October was a different phone. Based on this information, the police limited their investigations to Goa. Mahesh was sure something might have happened to Sam. The police started spreading the case to every town's police station, including Pondolam. Gaitan, who saw the photo, remembered that he saw Vijay driving the same yellow car before. He then tried to prove his suspicion by testing Vijay by himself. He deliberately asked for money from Martin in front of Vijay, but different from the usual him, he didn't react to his action, and when he said that the police had found a yellow car, Vijay looked shocked. Vijay then left from there, but before he went too far, Gaitan, who was there with Prabhu, said that if Vijay was the culprit, he would be anxious and looked behind, but somehow, Vijay didn't do it, and Prabhu that very moment, believed that Vijay was not the culprit, different from Gaitan, who was sure that Vijay was indeed the culprit because he already saw him with the same car that was found in the abandoned mine. Back at his home, Vijay warned his family that sooner or later, the police would come to their house to investigate and they could do anything, even violence, to prove their statement. So Vijay told them not to be worried, never show fear in their faces, and not to change the made-up statement they had arranged no matter what. Vijay said that the police didn't have evidence about Sam that correlated to them and thus they were safe. He also said to Nandini that they were doing the right thing. There were only two options for them, whether to give up or fight for their freedom. The police then came to investigate Vijay's neighbor if they had seen him driving a yellow car, but Vijay's neighbor was not sure if he saw him doing it. Moreover, there were lots of yellow cars there. Long story short, Prabhu found out the fact that Anju was not Vijay's biological child, but the one that he found back when she was just a baby. He also found out that Anju went to a high school camp and met Sam there. Knowing that Vijay saved a baby made Prabhu even more sure that Vijay was a good guy and questioned Gaitan's accusations, but Gaitan kept denying the evidence. The police then went to Anju's school to investigate her. Anju, who saw the police, was initially panicked, but she suddenly remembered what her father told her. She then tried to keep her composure and face the police to answer some questions. The police did an interrogation in the headmaster's office and asked some questions related to Sam's disappearance. Anju remembered that her father told her not to say anything that happened in the house. She answered every question calmly. Even when Gaitan tested her that the police had found out that she met Sam on October 2nd, she insisted that she didn't meet him and added that she and her family were not home at that time. They were out to Panaji to attend Swami's lecture on October 2nd and 3rd. Like and subscribe may look simple for you, but for us, it's precious. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you for being so supportive. The police then asked for permission from the headmaster to check on Anju's attendance on that day, but apparently, the school was closed on October 2nd and 3rd due to Gandhi's national holiday and Sunday. She was then told to return to her class. The police then met Nandini and Vijay to do an investigation. They both got a call from the school principal about what happened at the school earlier. They said that they had never seen a yellow car and had never known Sam. The police then said that they saw Vijay driving the same yellow car that Sam brought with him. The police were sure that Sam had come to his house. Nandini finally blurted out saying that the family wasn't home on the 2nd and 3rd of October. Even though the police haven't mentioned the date, Gaitan felt like he had won the case and proven his accusation. But Vijay was better at twisting the facts. He reasoned that his wife was still shocked at what happened to Anju and said that they already knew about the date of the incident from the school headmaster, thus proving that their statement before was genuine and not made up nor covering any facts. Vijay added that Gaitan's accusation was just to frame him because they never get along with each other. Vijay also said that his family was not home during the incident by showing the purchase receipt on that date. Vijay said that they had a habit of keeping the purchase receipt to track their expenses. Gaitan insisted that what he saw with the yellow car was Vijay. They then decided to meet Mira to tell her what happened, but Mira said that there was proof of their travel receipt. She then asked the police to take Vijay and his family to meet her. The police would also check the authenticity of the receipt. Mira was sure that if Vijay was lying, he wouldn't be that smart for a person who only got to grade 4 of elementary school. Vijay and his family were interrogated in different rooms and asked what they did at Panaji on October 2nd and 3rd. It turned out that Vijay had already told his family before. He said that when they were interrogated and they had the perfectly same answers, the police might suspect them of making up their answers, especially if it was a matter of time. So, to avoid suspicion, both Vijay and Nandini would answer in detail, but Anju and Anu would not answer in detail. Vijay told everyone that the police might try to lie to reveal the truth, and so they had to stay firm with their answer. On the other hand, Vijay's family and friends knew that they had been arrested for unclear reasons, so they tried to brag to the police station. Some journalists also had been told that Vijay's family was accused of an unclear reason and were undergoing interrogation. Meera said that if there was something strange about the interrogation, she wondered how come a little girl could be so firm with her statement. Sadly, they couldn't prove that they were lying because they didn't have permission from the court to use a lie detector, and to get that permission, Vijay and his family had to be proven guilty first. Meera then asked the police to interrogate those people who would have seen Vijay on October 2nd and 3rd, because if Vijay was lying, they wouldn't see him during that time. Apart from that, Meera also asked the staff of the hotel, bus, and restaurant that Vijay visited during his trip to Panaji to meet her as well. Rajesh met Vijay in the night to ask what happened to him, but Vijay didn't say a word. He just said that the time would come when his help would be needed. It was the turn of the people that Vijay met for interrogation. Everyone said that Vijay went to Panaji on the 2nd and 3rd of October, and the hotel registration book also confirmed that Vijay stayed on the same date. Vijay was even able to tell the contents of Swami's lecture to Jose and Martin. Swami also said that it seemed Vijay and his family had indeed come because he could remember his lecture in detail. Meera was confused about what else to do, but somehow, she felt that Vijay's family was lying. Meera found out from the bus ticket man that Vijay had taken some money from the ATM at the bus station. Meera then asked to see the security camera footage at the ATM on October 3rd, the day when Vijay departed from Panaji to Pondolam. Meera asked how the ticket man remembered the exact date when Vijay went for the bus, because every day, there are hundreds of passengers, and it turns out Vijay was a step further from the police. Vijay deliberately went back to Panaji to meet everyone that he met on his trip before and reminded them that they met on October 2nd and 3rd and also attended Swami's lecture. So, psychologically, Vijay messed around with their memory and altered it as he wished. Furthermore, Meera found out that someone recorded Swami's lecture to spread it to others. So that was how Vijay could tell Swami's lecture in detail. Sadly, even with the evidence they gathered, they still couldn't prove that Vijay was the culprit of Sam's disappearance case. The only strong enough evidence for them to prove Vijay's guilty was the security footage from the ATM, but shockingly, when they looked at the footage on October 3rd, Vijay was seen there taking money from the ATM, proving that he was indeed in Panaji on October 3rd. Meera tried to put together the puzzle of this case from the start. Meera concluded that it was true that Vijay was at Panaji on the 3rd of October, but he lied when he said that he was there with his family on the 2nd and 3rd of October. Meera said that Vijay was very smart. He and his family did go to Panaji to stay and eat at a restaurant, but that wasn't on October 2nd and 3rd. Vijay said that his children were sick and didn't go to school for a few days after their trip, and there was a note for the medicine. But Meera said that the medicine note was very easy to manipulate. Then Meera tried to repeat everything that Vijay did on October 3rd, starting from taking Sam's car to doing all the same things alone, buying 4 movie tickets and 4 bus tickets so he could get a receipt on that date, and the next day on the 4th of October, he invited his family to do the same thing again, adding his name in the hotel registration book on the 2nd of October and put on a fake name on the 4th of October when the hotel staff wasn't looking, and when they came back on the 5th of October, Vijay pretended to take money at the ATM, but he didn't. After that, Vijay watched Swami's recorded lecture in Panaji to get the details and later went back to Panaji to meet the same people and cleverly convinced them that he would go on the 2nd of October and come home on the 3rd of October. Vijay had played the entire police by manipulating the facts, But sadly, even after knowing all of that, Mira couldn't do anything since she had no solid evidence. The only thing that came to her mind was to use violence to force them to speak the truth. Vijay and his family were taken again by the police to undergo another interrogation. It was Rajesh's time to help Vijay by contacting all the numbers on the paper that belonged to Vijay, which were the journalist numbers in India. Mira said that all of Vijay's plans had been uncovered, but they still insisted and did not want to confess. Violence was finally carried out. They were beaten and battered until Alex, Sam's friend, came to convey his testimony. He said that he was the one contacting Sam before he got lost. Sadly, he didn't tell Alex where he was going or where he was. Alex then told everything to Mira about Anju's video that Sam took secretly and about his plan to blackmail Anju for his entertainment. Mira was very surprised to hear this, but on the one hand, she was even more convinced that Vijay's family was the perpetrator. Once again, she asked Vijay to tell the truth because she already knew the video, but Vijay still said that he didn't know anything. Mira then asked Gaitan to do anything so they would all agree to confess. Vijay, Nandini, and Anju still insisted on their statement, so Gaitan targeted Anu. He took everyone out of the room but kept Anu inside. Mira said that Anu wouldn't be able to tell the truth if her parents were still there with her. Outside, Anju and Nandini, who were too worried about Anu, told Vijay that they wanted to tell the truth, but Vijay forbade them because they had gone this far and couldn't hold back anymore. He promised that nobody from them would end up in jail. Inside, Mahesh scolded Mira and asked for this all to stop because what they were doing was against the law. After all, they still didn't admit it. Mahesh said that it was nice to say that Gaitan's accusation could be wrong. Gaitan, who was engulfed with emotions, suddenly slapped Anu, hard enough to scare her and spill the truth. Anu finally told where they buried Sam. The police then went to the grave. Journalists and people were seen at the scene. Vijay's family and friends told the journalist about Gaitan's bad habit. On the other hand, the excavation was unstoppable. Slowly, a rotten smell coming from the grave started spreading. But shocking, when they found the source of the rotten smell, it was not Sam's body but the body of a dead animal. Vijay then approached Rajesh and told him that Gaitan had beaten his daughter, Anu, for the sake of the investigation. Everyone who was fed up with Gaitan's bad demeanor finally barged in and beat Gaitan. The news of the case was spread where the police had tortured Vijay's innocent family. Many demonstrations took place everywhere. Gaitan was discharged from his job as a policeman. Prabhu and the other policemen who were involved in the case were transferred. Mira was off duty for an unspecified time, and the police were not allowed to interrogate Vijay's family if they didn't get permission from the court. Nandini said that Mira's family life had been ruined even though it was not entirely their fault. Vijay was happy to know that his wife didn't have a grudge against Sam's family, but in the end, if the situation was reversed, he was sure that Mira's family would also do the same without considering who was wrong or right. Nandini asked when did he move Sam's body, and it turned out, Vijay moved Sam's dead body at the time when he came back home on October 3rd night. Vijay kept a secret about where he buried Sam's body even though it was to his wife. From the start, Vijay was very sure sooner or later, one of them would admit where the body was buried, so he decided to move the body and replace it with a dead animal corpse. Suddenly, the police came, not to arrest Vijay, but to tell him that he was asked to meet Mira and Mahesh. Mahesh said that they met him not as the inspector general or a businessman, but as parents. They both love their only son, Sam, and they know that they spoiled him so much, resulting in his bad demeanor and the incident. They said that they were moving to London, but before that, Mahesh begged Vijay to tell them what happened to Sam, because all this time, they were tormented and hoped that Sam was still alive. Sam didn't say a word and they decided to leave, but suddenly, Vijay apologized. He said that his little family lived in harmony until one day, an uninvited guest entered his house and wanted to disturb his family. They tried to stop him but he didn't want to hear it, and somehow an incident happened. They made the uninvited guest go to a place where there was no way back. Vijay implicitly confessed that he had murdered Sam, but in the most polite way possible. He said that his family was the most important and at that time, he didn't see right and wrong. And once again, He apologized from the bottom of his heart. In the end, Vijay went to the new police station to meet the new senior inspector who replaced Prabhu to sign the case. The inspector said that he must be very proud for fooling the whole police. He was sure that Sam's body would be found. Vijay said that he respected the police and it was impossible for him to fool the whole police. Finally, Vijay said that he believed the new inspector in the new police station would always protect him. At the very end, the plot twist was that Vijay had secretly buried Sam's dead body beneath the new police station. 2 days before the contractor, Rain, installed the floor there. Thank you for watching this video till here. Now we will show you the second part of the film released in 2022, DRISHYAM Part 2. On October 4, 2014, in the province of Goa, India, a man named David Braganza was delivering drugs to a dealer. David said that he wanted to repent of being a drug courier and switch to a better normal job for the sake of his family, but the dealer forbade him, not even paying David's wages. Treated like that, David was desperate to take back the bag containing the drugs. The struggle ensued. David, who was about to be shot, managed to grab the dealer's gun and kill him, but unfortunately, the patrol police who happened to be passing by saw the incident. David immediately ran away through the forest while carrying the bag. David managed to escape from pursuit and arrived at the new police station that was being built there. At that very moment, David accidentally saw Vijay Saljankar burying the body of the child of the former Inspector General, Meera, and her husband Mahesh, whose name is Sam. After that, David returned to his house and asked his wife Mary to pack up immediately and take their child to run away from there without any reason given, but suddenly, the police came and surrounded the house. David ended up being arrested. 7 years have passed after Vijay and his family managed to escape being accused of murder. Up until now, nobody knew that Sam's body was buried under the floor of the new police station. Vijay has succeeded in becoming a cinema owner, and because of his love and hobby for movies, Vijay planned to make a film. His wife Nandini, as well as his 2 children, Anju and Anu, were very supportive of their father. They had a couple, Shiv and Ginny, as a neighbor who often fights. For many years, Shiv, who was unemployed and often drunk, always asked his wife for money every day. He didn't even hesitate to use violence to get what he wanted. Seeing that, Nandini asked Vijay to separate them because when Anju was sick, it was Ginny who often helped to take care of her. When Vijay tried to end their fight, Shiv cursed him for interfering in their household, even saying that Vijay's family was indeed the killer of Sam, the child of the former Inspector General. After Shiv was kicked out, Vijay asked Ginny to report to the police so they could help warn Shiv for doing domestic violence. As usual, Vijay stopped by Martin's tavern and saw residents who saw him as a murderer. Then, Vijay went to his small business office. With his worker, Jose, Vijay monitored the security camera that had just been installed inside and outside of the office, the cinema, and his office in the cinema. Later, when Vijay arrived at his office in the cinema, Mahesh, Sam's father, suddenly came. He flew from London to India for his son's funeral ceremony once a year. He visited Vijay to ask him the location where he buried Sam's body so that he could do the funeral ceremony with his son's remnant, but Vijay remained silent and did not want to bring up the case that was closed 7 years ago. After that, Vijay met with a senior writer named Murad to discuss the film script he had made based on Vijay's life experience. The next day, Vijay took his family out and threw a birthday party for his daughter Anu. Even though Vijay is super busy, he is still a father figure as well as a husband who cares for and loves his family. His humble nature also brought him many friends. One of them is a gravekeeper named Savio. They had been friends for so long and Vijay had been so kind to him, even paying his daughter's school fees and marriage. On the other hand, Mahesh and Meera were having a funeral ceremony. Until now, Meera as a mother still couldn't accept Vijay's actions which killed her son but escaped from the sentence because Sam's body was not found and Vijay also has the perfect alibi. That night, Vijay met another friend named Galab in a bar. Vijay had promised a part in the movie for Golub for him to play later. Vijay said that the film story had been published as a book and had only been printed a few dozen for copyright protection. Meanwhile, at the house, Nandini invited Ginny, the neighbor, for a small talk. They were enjoying their time chatting to the point that Nandini almost blurted out how they killed Sam, the secret she and her family had been hiding for so long. The next morning, suddenly the police came, which made Anju very panicked. Vijay calmed her down and told her never to be afraid and acted as usual. It turned out that the arrival of the police was because Jenny reported her husband's actions and they knew the complaint had been suggested by Vijay and Nandini, who often saw domestic violence from Shiv. The police warned Shiv so that he would stop his actions, and if another complaint was issued, he would immediately be jailed. Since the incident of Sam's murder, which she accidentally did in self-defense, Anju often had nightmares and even suffered from PTSD that often led to seizures. Meanwhile, David, the former drug courier, was finally freed from prison and went straight to his house to make amends for his guilt for leaving his wife and children who do not have enough money for their daily needs. David decided to go out and look for a job. He arrived at Martin's tavern and asked if someone might have a vacancy. Martin immediately suggested he ask Vijay, but unfortunately, Vijay still hadn't opened the vacancy yet. David, who hadn't seen Vijay's face since 7 years ago, had a hunch that he might have seen him before but couldn't put his mind to it. That night Vijay once again met Golub in his office for drinks until he was badly drunk and unconscious. Meanwhile, Nandini was chatting with Ginny at home, and because they had been friends for a long time, Nandini, who trusted Ginny, finally told her what happened to Sam. But she didn't mention Sam's name at all. In another place, a police officer named Sawant picked up Gaitan, the corrupt police who had been dismissed 7 years ago for abusing Vijay's family. They were both asked to meet the new Inspector General named Tarun Alawat, a man who is a very eccentric genius, and has his way of uncovering each case in great detail. Soon, Mira came along with two intel who turned out to be Ginny and Shiv. Turned out that Tarun had been a friend of Mira since they were in the police academy. When she replaced Mira as Inspector General, he started tracking down all information related to Vijay. When they both found out that Vijay was selling part of his land, that's where the plan started. Mira bought the land under the name of Shiv to make a house. Then Shiv and Ginny were asked to act as a family of domestic violence for the last 2 years. Ginny was also asked several times to help Nandini to help her get closer to Nandini. Apart from that, the two of them had secretly installed tappers at many points in Vijay's house, as well as Ginny, who always recorded her conversations with Nandini, until finally, last night, Nandini told Ginny that only Vijay who knew where the body was, because 7 years ago, before the police dug the grave in their yard, Vijay had secretly moved the core somewhere else. The next day, Tarun came back to reconstruct the chronology of what happened 7 years ago with Sawant and Gaitan. On October 2nd, Sam was killed. Then the next day, on October the 3rd, Vijay returned home and drowned Sam's car at the abandoned mine to eliminate suspicion. After that, to support his alibi, Vijay made false evidence that obscured the date of the incident, such as the bus tickets, the security camera footage at the ATM, and the receipts that he somehow manipulated. Then on the evening of the 3rd, around 1 in the morning, Vijay moved Sam's corpses when everyone was sleeping. Tarun could even analyze to the point when Vijay went home at exactly 4:30 in the morning, because an hour later, he and his family left to take the bus to Panaji. In 3.5 hours, Vijay needed 2 hours to dig and bury the corpse, which means he needed 90 minutes trip to go to the place where he buried the corpse. That means the furthest he could go within that given time is about 45 kilometers from his house. Therefore, to find out the travel route, Sawant and Gaitan were ordered to ask people within a 45 kilometers radius who worked early in the morning today. Tarun even awarded a big sum of money to anyone who could provide leading information for the case, but unfortunately, no one saw it or even remembered that since it happened 7 years ago. Then, Sawant got the info that there was a theater event on October 3rd every year that lasted until midnight, and one of Vijay's neighbors named Subhash attended the event. When they asked about it, Subhash remembered seeing Vijay going home in a jeep around 04:00 to 04:30 in the morning. He could clearly remember that because at that time, he just come back after buying an inhaler for his wife who had sudden asthma. He said that he saw Vijay come back from the shortcut to his office. Tarun realized that there were too many possible locations where Vijay moved the corpse. He knew that Vijay would place the body in an unusual place. He then made a plan to help them find the location. Tarun then came to Vijay's house and met Nandini and her two daughters because Vijay was not there at that time. He introduced himself as the new Inspector General replacing Mira. He said that his only purpose in visiting them was to have small talk, but everything that he said intimidated them, like saying that he hated an innocent person getting punished while the guilty side could live freely. He praised them for caring about Jenny and Shiv's domestic violence case, saying that their family was a law-abiding family. Shortly after Tarun left, Jenny came in a hurry and told Nandini that the police were about to search for Sam's corpse at the church that they suspected to be the place where the corpse was buried. She told Nandini to tell her husband. Nandini, who was already in terror, immediately called Vijay to come home. She then told Vijay about it in their room. Turned out that this was all Tarun's plan to lure Vijay to tell the real location where he buried the body. On the other side, Jenny and Shiv were listening to their conversation via the tappers they installed in their room before. Vijay told Nandini to keep calm. Instead of biting the lure, Vijay acted calmly and still kept the location to himself. Tarun's plan was ruined. After that, Vijay came to the police station to meet Sawant to reveal that his family was indirectly being terrorized by the police who constantly suspected them of being guilty. On the other hand, David was going to Panaji since he found a job there, but before going, he stopped at Martin's Tavern. There, he heard some men talking about Vijay's case, which was again investigated by the police, and they assumed that Vijay had cleverly moved the body somewhere. One of the men said that the police had asked a lot of people if they saw Vijay on the night of October the 3rd 7 years ago and would reward anyone with good information with a lot of money. Like and subscribe may look simple for you, but for us, it's precious. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you for being so supportive. David heard that and got intrigued, but since he didn't realize yet what he heard, he just left to get his bus. But when he was waiting for the bus in front of the police station, he saw Vijay coming out from there and the memory struck him. He finally remembered that on October 3rd 7 years ago, when he was chased by the police, he saw Vijay burying Sam's body and came out of the place at the exact angle as he saw now. David immediately reported it to the police, saying that he knew where the body was buried. That night, Mira, Tarun, Gautam, and Sawan came to meet him. There, David said that he would tell the location after he received the reward in advance. After receiving the reward, David told them that the body was buried right below them, beneath the floor of the police station. That was why Vijay was very confident, because nobody would expect him to bury the body right beneath the police station. It didn't take long for Tarun to take care of the excavation permit for the office, and the work was carried out early in the morning. After the workers dug deep enough, the police finally found it. Human bones belonging to Sam were finally found. At Vijay's house, he and his family were about to go out. Vijay checked the security camera before going. From the footage, he saw the police station covered with green curtains and lots of crowds there. Vijay immediately called Jose, and after receiving information that the police were having an excavation there, Vijay asked his wife and daughters to stay inside. He promised to always protect his family at all costs. Some officers came to clean and take the boxes containing the bones to the forensic lab, and at the same time, Vijay saw officers had brought those boxes. After waiting for news from the forensics for several days, Mira and Mahesh met Tarun in his office. Forensic results found that the skeleton was that of a 20-year-old male with a crack in the skull and was declared dead due to trauma to the head, a similar feature to Sam's. But Tarun still needed to test the DNA by sending the bones and also asking for Mira and Mahesh's blood sample to match them. Based on these findings, the court allowed the police to interrogate Vijay's family for 8 hours. Shortly thereafter, Vijay and his family came to the police station for interrogation. The Taran showed David's photo as the witness who saw Vijay burying Sam's body at the police station. After that, Mira came with her two intel, Shiv and Jenny, and then played the tape containing Nandini's voice saying that Vijay had moved the body. Taran brought Vijay for closed interrogation. He asked him the culprit who murdered Sam, the reason behind the murder, and how the murder was carried out, but Vijay was still firm in his answer that he and his family did not know anything about the murder. Taran then told Gautam to bring Vijay's family and tortured them right in front of him for not telling the truth. Vijay begged to stop the torture, especially because Anju might have epilepsy. The torture didn't stop until Anju started having seizures. Seeing his daughter like that, Vijay finally gave up and begged the torture to be stopped. He said he would tell the truth. Vijay's confession was recorded but without Taran's realizing. What Vijay said was different from the original incident where on October 2, 2014, Nandini and her two daughters were out for a walk, and Vijay, who was alone at home, saw a teenager sneaking in. Feeling suspicious, he took a stick and hit the teenager until he fell and hit his head, which immediately killed him. Vijay, who was scared, buried his body in the yard but was immediately moved to the police station because he felt it was safer, until finally, he found out that the teenager was Sam, the son of the former Inspector General, Mira. Vijay successfully fooled Taran and made an alibi to save his family. After the confession, the media came to Vijay's house. Vijay tried to calm Nandini down, who blamed herself for unconsciously telling the secret they had been hiding. Anju and Anu were also very scared. The next day, the news was spreading fast, saying that Sam's body was finally found and Vijay was suspected of the murder. Murad, the senior writer, was very surprised to hear the confession. Meanwhile, Vijay was brought to the court for trial. When the trial started, Murad arrived to meet Taran, Mira, and Mahesh in the office. He was there to tell something about a very important fact about Vijay. His first meeting with Vijay was in 2016, or 2 years after the disappearance of Sam. Vijay introduced his name not as Vijay Saljankar, but as Vijay Godbole. At that time, Murad did not realize that Vijay was the suspect in Sam's murder who managed to get away. Vijay met Murad to tell him about the script that would be made into a film. Murad was very impressed with this extraordinary story and accepted to work on the script without any hesitation. Vijay said that he had a condition that filming would not take place until they both agreed on the script of the film. The film by Vijay told the story of a teenager named Jaden who was loved by his father, Ram. One day, he was at a party with his girlfriend. Another teenager suddenly came and flirted with his girlfriend. Jaden reminded him not to flirt with her, but that boy didn't care. Jaden then immediately hit him and a fight broke out there. Turned out the boy was the son of a well-known contractor. The boy didn't like how he was treated and decided to meet Jaden at his house. The fight broke out again until finally, Jaden accidentally pushed the teenager away until he hit his head and died. Ram, who just come home and saw his son, was very scared. He found the teenager's dead body and immediately buried the dead body in the new building belonging to the teenager's father, which was being built to protect his son and family. After that, Ram makes a fake confession to save his family. He admitted that he was the one who killed the boy to save his son. Essentially, the script was exactly like Vijay's life story. Murad said that Vijay had published the story into a book a year ago on a limited basis so as not to lose the copyright. The book was published under the name of Murad, even the bill for the publishing was under Murad's name too, even though he was the one paying for it. At the same time, the judge saw Vijay's video confession and his lawyer said that the confession video had to be done because his family was tortured right in front of his eyes. His lawyer then showed a book entitled DRISHYAM, which was published under Murad's name, where the whole story in it is the same as the police's statement, which means that Vijay's case was purely fictitious. It's just a composition by the police who took the story from the book. Not long after, the results of the DNA test came, which turned out to be that the human skeleton was not Sam's. In his office, Taran was getting angrier because a man who had not even graduated from elementary school was again able to deceive the police. He asked Murad about the ending of the film. Murad then explained that Vijay wanted the main protagonist to win at the end of the film. Vijay then asked Murad, who knew the police very well. He asked the information about how the forensics worked. He then found out that forensics would determine the basic information about the body and later would send the body to do a DNA test. After knowing about that, Vijay knew that the police would sooner or later find the body buried beneath the police station, so he tried to search for news about a murder that had similarities with Sam. After he found the body, he made friends with Savio the gravekeeper. He helped him through his hard times and gained his trust. From Savio, he received information on how long it would take for a corpse to turn into a skeleton. One day, Savio had debt and Vijay helped to pay it off. After he gained Savio's trust, he asked for his help to get the skeleton that he needed for the sake of his job. Savio, who already trusted him, decided to help him. Not only that, Vijay tried to get close to Golub, who turned out to be the security at the forensic lab. Starting from their first meeting in the bar, he found out that Golub was a weak drinker. He often treated him to drink and over time, gained his trust too. He also found out that Golub wanted to play in a movie and promised him a part in his movie later. He finally had the ace under his sleeve. When the fateful day when the police found Sam's skeleton under the police station, Vijay had prepared the skeleton to replace Sam's real skeleton. He took it from a secret compartment under his desk in his office. When the police take Sam's skeleton to the forensic lab, Vijay uses his connection with Golub to get into the office. He then treated Golub to some drinks which made him heavily drunk and lose consciousness. After that, he took the replacement skeleton and took Sam's skeleton with him from there. He could easily do his action there because he knew from Golub that the forensic lab didn't have any security cameras around. After that, Vijay went to a vacant lot far from settlements to burn the skeleton into ashes to get rid of the evidence. Seeing the incompatible from the DNA test, the judge decided to acquit Vijay of all charges. His lawyers also petitioned the High Court to stop this obscure case forever and kept Vijay away from any more disturbance related to Sam's murder case. Just like at the end of the film script, the protagonist went away proven not guilty. Vijay walked past the police who couldn't do anything even though they knew the truth. He passed Arun and Sam's parents, Meera and Mahesh, who had to accept their defeat for the second time. Vijay could not look them in the eye, because, despite knowing that he was indeed guilty, he had to do all this to protect his family. After the trial, the judge asked Tarun to meet him to discuss Vijay's case, which the judge knew was taken from a novel. Tarun only replied with his certainty that the police knew the truth but couldn't prove it because of a lack of evidence. It turned out that Vijay still had some of Sam's bones which he burned to ashes and then sent to Mahesh's house along with a letter saying his wish to never get any more disturbance. After that, Meera and Mahesh threw their son's ashes into the sea as a form of custom. Even though Meera's heart as a mother still couldn't accept it, she had to accept the reality. Vijay, who saw them from afar, felt relieved because he could fulfill Mahesh's request. At the end of the film, Vijay takes his family on a trip. Inside his heart, Vijay said that his family is his world. He could do anything, even beyond the limit, if his family was in danger. That was all of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.